Dumb link is you buying. Good day, go to the show. Everything well because I'm having a wonderful day. Welcome to part 2 of the video that was supposed to be why we're so thankful with life to my whole job experience in my life. I was at Quebec. This phone closed by the way because it was too hot. Look at this. This is crazy. But and I told you I'm gonna be filming a lot when there's cloud outside. I like a clear sky. Most of my friends do, but a cloudy sky, to me, it's unbeatable. So with Quebec, it was like you would wait for 40 minutes, and you would work for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then because it was unionized, when it was too hot, you would take a job. You would take a break every 2 hours because it was unionized. You'd have two breaks that are paid. So it was really good, and back then it was one of the first jobs that really had like they had showers. Now, why that matters because they're talking about the employees. They had a cafeteria which was huge, which was for the employees, but more for the employees than the agency worker. So why did I stop? Well, because I mentioned I made a mistake, and I mentioned I wanted to get hired, and I insisted on getting hired, and I was like, well, I don't want to work for the agency anymore. So I fucked myself over for the agency, and I fucked myself over for the guy. By the way, for agency, why am I not satisfied with agency anymore? I'm not saying that I'm not satisfied. I do like working for agency. It's super easy because you have a job, and if it doesn't work, you'll get another job. However, I gotta say, my first expérience with agency was with a guy called Michael Tessier. Shout out mon boy, je t'adore, man. T'étais un gars extraordinaire pour moi. Michael Tessier was my agency worker, and he always took care of me. He always took care of me. Now that he's gone now. He doesn't work with them anymore. Now that I'm working with other people, it's comme ci comme ça, but not as good as him, and they don't take care as much as me as they him. So I'm like, dude, I'm in for an agency worker. I'm getting you guys money. You should be, you know. Okay, the truth. Okay, I'm an agency worker. The way agency work is that the agency worker will work. They're gonna cut out the pay. So with the PCT, I was getting paid $24 an hour, and the agency gave me $12.50. And you know what the craziest thing is? This is gonna be much later on, but still I'm gonna tell you it now. Uh, Mihai, which was my old boss, he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna hire you. I'm gonna give you $18. I know that normally it's 16 hours, but I want to give you 18." And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's gonna cost you more." I said, "What you mean? You're already costing me $24 an hour." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" He says, "Why?" I said, "Well, they gave me $12.50." And he said, "Those fucking bandits." Now, did Mihai know that they were giving me $12.50? I don't know. I want to believe him saying when he said he doesn't know. I want to believe him. He could have known. I don't know. So with Quebec, I was like, I want to get hired, and this is where the illusion, if you will, breaks. I didn't care about salary. I went to work there because it was a good place. It was a good place. It was just toxic though. It was really toxic. So then, my memory of them was a good place but toxic, and when most people that are watching this are younger, when you'll have a job, you'll understand. There's places that you think you like, where the coworker, the workplace is very toxic. There's very toxic behavior, and you come to accept that. You come to expect that. You come to think this is normal, and then you like the job because you like the people, right? Then when you leave that place, like, yeah, this was toxic, you know, and it happens a lot. Then after PCT, I did a place called Structure. Structure was a great place to work. It was close. It was really close. It was 50 minutes. This is the place where I got my depression. This is the place I got the most tattoo at. It was 40 hours a week. Structure was a good place because it wasn't that bad. It was not a lot of work. For example, we've had days of 8 hours where we had to do 2 trucks. A truck takes an hour and a half, by the way. This is workshop. This is workshop places. Most workshops are not working, and when there's rushes, but most of the time there's no rush. And Structure was nice. It was really cool. The management was crazy because them also had they also had a gate with a lock. Which was stupid. This is the place where my boss had the same salary as me. This is the place where my boss was also a badge. It was also an agency worker. And then what happened is I told you guys the story before. Um, he liked me a lot because I was nice to him. Most people called him a loser. So the guy was called Francis. Francis was a good dude. Francis had okay, so it's complex. Francis is really complex. Francis, and that's his fault because he was bragging about it. Francis had, it was a certain age. I think it was 36. He had a really good place in the army. He wasn't. He was an immigrant. He had a good place in his army. He was like I think it was general back then, in his country, and he had enough money to live the perfect life, you know. And then he decided to immigrate, and then as an immigrant which has a army background, you can kind of get into the army. It's like hey, this is my I know what's up. They'll be like, okay, well, you have your proof. You're more likely. It's stupid. A lot of my friends that are Filipinos have been nurse in their country, and when you're gonna come here, it's like, oh no, you can't. You have to take a course. Or people that are doing a course in scientists, they take a course, right? But with the army, it's kind of different. So France is a good place, and then he chose to work with an agency. So he was being seen as a loser because he had such a good job that he left and he had a shitty job. But Francis had a horrible experience at the army. He's telling me about how he wakes up thinking about how he killed people. He had a really bad place, and he's like, and it's sad because he knew the rumor, and I think because me and him were close, we were friends. I feel like he felt that he had to justify himself to me, like, yeah, this is a shitty job, but I'm getting money from my years of services. So the two of them together, I'm making more than the bosses of this place. I'm like, I don't care. You do what you want, dude. Right? You do what you want. See, the same fly is still upon my wounds. Still upon my wounds, which is great. And we're bleeding. So, the reason I quit, that was my fault though. That was my fault. This is my fault, but this was also a misunderstanding. Francis liked me, so he kept me during winter. So during winter, we had 2 trucks a day. So the boss was like, yo, you need to fire people. And then he only kept me and Zach. Zach was a really good dude too. I like Zach a lot. Zach was a younger brother to me. He was super nice. But Zach spoke only English, and Francis didn't speak English. So I was translating everything. So what happened was he kept me for winter, and then when time came to hire more people summer, and we had more trucks, he was like, Steph, you're gonna be my right hand. And I was like, holy shit, thank you, dude. I thought about raising the salary, but I don't know. I was getting in more trouble. I was getting into people giving me shit because your guys are not working. I'm like, dude, I'm 5'4". They're 7 foot. What am I supposed to say? Go to work. Don't tell me fuck you. You know. Now, the truth. Did I try to tell them to go work? No. Did I try to be a boss? No. So that's my fault. But I wanted more money. I wanted a lot more money. So I just left. That's when I learned that Francis was also a agency worker. That's when I learned that Francis was also making the same salary that I did. To me, if you give me more responsibility, more work, you gotta pay me more. I don't care about money, but I care about okay. So even with content, I don't care about money. However, pay me for what I'm worth. If you're doing something that nobody else is doing, you should get a pay that nobody else is doing. People are like, oh, those firefighters are getting so much. Yeah, they're risking their life. Police officers are getting so much. Yeah, they're risking their life, plus they're hated. You know. Now, there's a discourse I have on bank management and shit like that. That's not my. This is not a problem for me to solve. But at the same time, yeah, you know. So I left, and then after that, I spent a bunch of time not working. I spent 2 years not working because I made so much money. Because what would happen is with agency, they would tell you, hey, you need to work. Otherwise, we'll move on to somebody else. So there was this constant, and at the same time, this is very personal. This is a mentality also. This is a problem of mentality. Agency work was very sparse. So there was a bunch of company for agency that was shitty. There was a bunch of company that was really good. If you're lucky, you get a good one. If you're not lucky, you have to wait for the good one. It was very sparse. So with agency work, and this is, I feel like it's normal though. See, the fly is gone, and now it's itching again. It was a case of, how can I say that? It was a case of your work is not secured, your income is not secured. So for a bunch of months, for a bunch of years actually, I start, and it was crazy. These, I'm telling you, were the craziest years of my life. Now, I mentioned as to why. When I talk to you guys, I often talk to you about, oh, I was broke, and when you listen to me and say you're broke, like, yeah, but at that age you said you were working. How come you were broke? The reality is that I was. Sometimes I was broke, but the reality is I felt broke when I was broke. There's some years where I there's a year. This is a true story, because I never took welfare, because I'm perfectly able to work. I never took welfare. I never ever took welfare. Um, Give me a sec. I was always worried though with cash. So I was working, but I didn't have money, because I was like, okay, well, if I lose my job, when is the next time I'm going to be working? It could be in a month, it could be in 2 months, you know. So when I quit that job, I had enough saving for 2 months. I have enough saving for 2 years. Now the truth isn't. This is half the truth. I made some coffee and I forgot the cup. So there's when I left that job, right? I said that I was leaving because of the stress of the work. So when you say, and then I didn't know. So this is not like I planned this. When you leave a place of work because of mental issues, they'll give you cash. So what happened was I left because of that. So they gave me 4 months. They gave me 4 months. This is all true. They gave me 4 months of salary. It wasn't salary. It was a bit less, but it wasn't that much less. It was maybe 75% of my pay, right? They gave me that for 5 months, and then I got the unemployment, which I was getting last year, and that was 80% of my pay. So for a year and a half, I got paid for doing nothing, and then I had enough cash to survive for 7 months. But when it stopped, because this is the craziest part. I was spending like crazy. I was starting on Amazon, and I went crazy. And the week, this is nuts. It was the 21st June 2025 and 2020 2018, yeah. So what happened was, I going to pay for the grocery store. This is the one of the most embarrassing stories in my life. I was going to the store every single day to buy $20. Yes. You heard me right. Every single day to buy $20 of junk food, because I didn't want to cook. I was depressed. It's when I got really fat, farther than where I am right now, and I go to pay for my food, and they're saying card decline. I said, what you mean card decline? Insufficient funds. I'm like, holy shit, I have no money. And then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna fill up a unemployment thing. They're saying that you don't have any more weeks. So I'm $21. I got $20 in my account, and I have to pay the bills. I have to pay the rent the next week or the 2 weeks after that. I don't know what I'm gonna do. My janitor was super nice. I said, listen, I have money issues. I'll find a job. I called Michael again. You guys know Michael. And Michael's like, yeah, I don't work there anymore. I don't work at the agency. I'm like, holy shit, are you kidding me? What am I gonna do? And the next day, it's like, I don't work there, but I still have some contacts. You start on Thursday. I was like, wow, okay. So I went to start there. And that was 7 years of my life. PCT. So then, you guys know the history, but just to finish the video on a perfect matter. Last year, I'm focused on making content. That's my life and dream. That's my blood, sweat, and tears. In October 2024, you're my neighbor. And October 24, I'm told that you don't have an employment yet. So I started looking for work, but I still have money in the bank. I have 4,000 in the bank. 4,000 with me. I spend about 900 per month. It will last me it will last me 4 months for 3,600, right? So it will last me a while, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm planning to find a job. What are the job that I want? I do the first round of job that I want. First round of job that I want. It doesn't work. Now Christmas comes in. My dad gave me money. My mom gave me money for Christmas. And the second round of places that I don't want, that I work. Then we're in July. The whole winter is dead. You don't find a job in winter. So in March, and I do my second round, and I go back to the places that I wanted. Maybe they need people now, and I wasted too much time. And now the job that I'm being offered, because what's going on right now? Am I saying there's no work? No. I'm saying there's less work? Absolutely. What happened right now, for example, with Lachine, what happened right now is there's a lot more people because they have condos, right? So condos, instead of having a house with 4 people, they have a condo with 40 people. Those 40 people need a job, right? But then they have a lot more employees. And because they have a lot more employees, so you guys know that the rule of supply and demand? So the supply and demand is, I can sell this product at a higher price because there's a demand. Or I have to lower my price because there's no demand. I can raise my price because there's no supply. Or I have to lower my price because there's too many supplies. If somebody's selling bananas, you can't sell a banana for $10. Right? So yeah. Then what happened is I started applying to the places I didn't want, and because they have more choices, now they're asking you for a car, and you know, so I go with the agency, and and it doesn't work. We had my father's birthday, which is in April, and we got tipsy. Not wrong with tipsy, you know. Yeah, I don't know if tipsy means you feel it. Like I'm not drunk, but I'm not far from being drunk. I feel drunk, but I'm not drunk. My father says, I go to work. I'm like, I miss PCT, man. He's like, yeah. My father feels bad for PCT. My mom is more simple. My mom is the classical mom. She's like, as long as you're happy, Steph, I don't care. Whatever you do, as long as you're happy, I don't care. My father's a bit more, and I love my mom, but my dad has been working in workshop, and I'm working in workshop, so it's a shared reality, you know. So my father is like, it's a shame that PCT closed because you would have worked your whole life there. And it's kind of like it's a weird thing to say to his son. It's a weird thing to hear as a son, but it's not wrong. I would have done. See, this is the craziest thing. What I have done my whole life, I don't know. Because when I started making content, which was 4 years ago, and then the year after, until it closed, my plan was to work at PCT until the social media start. And if it takes 6 years, it takes 6 years. It takes 7 years, it takes 7 years. When I started making content, I didn't know the company was gonna close. I didn't know that. There was rumor of it being closed. So we started hearing a rumor about being closed in November 2023, and no, that's not true. Around summer 2023, and then it closed in March 2024. So we had an inkling it's gonna close, right? Because my boss was talking about retirement, and at first it was a bit of retirement, then it was a lot. My boss was 67. People take kids with retirement at 65. So he even stayed more than he wanted to, you know? I miss Miyagi the most. You know, he was a good dude. And my father was like, he was right. If I did 7 more years before YouTube worked, I would have been there. I didn't think about finding a new job. I didn't think about having to find a new job before. And then when I lost my job, I was like, okay, well, how far it's with content, it's special because you don't think about, okay, well, I have 2 or 3 months to do before I make enough money to survive. I don't think about you don't know. We're doing really well on social media, but are we doing better than we were doing 2 months ago? I don't know. You know, some numbers are better, some numbers are worse, which is kind of like weird, right? But now this is the summer, so this is the time to really push. Because if I do correctly, if I do a good enough job, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna be live every single day of the summer. Gonna be a lot of students, which are spending the most time on social media. The students, if they help, well, if they like the content, they'll be able to give me the numbers that I need for that. You want to know something crazy? People said, how did you do it to go from 5,000 followers to 9,000 in 4 months? It was summer. Most of these people came from lives. They didn't come from the content. They came from lives, right? And then my numbers on YouTube raised to what? My number on YouTube raised because my numbers on TikTok raised. So it's kind of normal, you know? So I never thought I was gonna have to find another job. And that's it. So then it was my father's birthday, and we were tipsy, and he was talking about if only there was a company that was close to what you were doing there, because PCT was very close to what I'm doing at Quebec. And my father, I think most people want their kids to do what they're doing. So my father was a welder, and he was working. For him, working in metal was cool. It was really cool. So, for example, and that's the craziest thing, is the place I was working at was making business with Quebec, right? And then when he watched when he went to visit the company that was working at PCT, holy shit, this is close to Quebec, you know. So I was like, okay, well, let's go there. And I didn't want to go there because it was dirty. And I was like, holy shit, I miss the people. I miss how close it was to my home. See, this is kind of crazy because this is what I was talking about 3 months ago. Quebec wasn't my first choice. I'm not saying it's a bad company. It was my first choice. But it's about a list of positive versus negative. And the list for positive for Quebec is extremely long. It's a job that I know. It's the things that I did before. It's close to my house. There's a good salary. There's a lot of opportunity for overtime. There's a lot of opportunity for advantage. You have insurance. They once a week you have a meal with the company, which is pizza, which is nice. They take care of their employees, which is also good. They have 3 shifts. They have day, night, evening. So for example, at PCT, and again, this I'm not saying this is gonna happen. I'm just saying only if I have a person like I had at the other company, all I have to say is, can I change shift? right? All I have to say is, okay, I changed shifts. There you go. I'm done. So how's it gonna go? I don't know. Now, is the plan? The plan has kind of changed, for example, per the content. It changed a little bit. Before it was, how fast can I make money on it? And now it's like, okay, well, if I have a good job, you know, I don't know. Because with overtime, they'll give you time off. I don't know. Right now, the plan. This is the plan I'm telling you today on the 20th June 2025, the day after my interview. If it goes well, I'll stay there. I'll stay there. The reason why I wanted to leave PCT was because of the bullying. But I always wanted to work, you know. When I have time, I'm like, okay, I'm done here. I want to make content. And at that time, I'm there. What I'm thinking about is, for example, right? Right now, I am single, okay? Right now, I don't have kids. Right now, I don't have responsibilities, right? So I could work until I have more responsibility. Imagine there's kids. I'm gonna be like, well, I have money saved up, and I can focus on taking care of the kids, and I have the content creation that's gonna support me, you know? Right now, and this is crazy because this was kind of what I was talking about 40 minutes ago. The plan would be to do like a squirrel. So feed your completely like hide food in your cheeks and do reserve. And this would be cash reserve, right? Like with this one, I could have weeks off and I could go to travel, you know. I got Maddie that wants me to go to New Zealand. And then there's also the reality of PCT. I love the job, but there's months where I didn't like it. There's months where I'm like, fuck you, I want to leave, you know? And maybe it wasn't so much a need to work with content creation. Maybe it was a need to leave, you know? Because if I'm happy at the other place, why would I leave, right? I don't know, dude. I'm thinking out loud, you know? I don't even know. Because there's so many things that could change. There's so many things I don't know. I got no fucking clue, guys. And if I had a clue, what would I do? You know? It's a question of perception. I think I understand, I think I know, because I think I know I do X, Y, Z. But if X, Y, Z is just a perception of success versus a reality of success, what if X, Y, Z was the wrong way to do things? I don't know. You know? There's also the fact, this is sad. When I told them that I had this job with the agency, they were so fucking happy. My mom, she gave me a gift card. My father was like, holy shit, let's go out to celebrate. Guys, I've been working there for a week, chill. You know, at the same time, it made them happy. It made them really happy. Because the last job that I had with the agency was cleaning offices. But those cleaning the offices were 4 hours, 4 hours per night, 3 nights a week. So 12 hours a week. Like, this is not sustainable. Then I got this job from the agency, which is 25 hours a week. However, the guy stealing is not stable. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. You know, I don't know. I don't know. You know, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. And then there's this other problem. I'm seeing this new job, which is Quebec. I'm seeing this as this. Oh, this is a lifesaver. Oh, this is gonna be the perfect thing. Oh, this is gonna solve every single problem. And then you're relying on other people to solve your problem. I was seeing this person on TikTok, and I love them. They're a good person, but whenever their shit hits the fan, they'll do a video on TikTok, say, hey, I need some help, financial help. There's this guy yesterday, and this is something that's quite normal. I'm watching every single day. I'm watching TikTok battles because they're fucking funny and they're fucking crazy. And it's these two garbage people. I talked about them a lot, right? And two garbage people fighting against each other. So because they're garbage people, you don't care if they self-destruct. Sorry to say, but that's the truth. Now, the good part with that is that because they're garbage people, I don't have an expectation. Now, here's the bad thing. One of the guys yesterday said, hey guys, today I need you guys. I got something tomorrow. I won't be able to be here. I need your support. I need money, and I'm not ashamed to say it. For me, saying that is pretty shameful, but hey, if you feel no shame asking for cash, go ahead, right? Go ahead. And I want to talk about this because this is kind of important. There's nothing wrong with giving gift on TikTok. There's nothing wrong with receiving gift on TikTok. But the second you ask for gifts, it's not cool. Right? It's not cool. You cannot be relying on people. It's like I cannot be reliant on that job saving everything. No, that job will take care of financial issues. I hope so. Because I'm fucking working. But do I have financial issues right now? No. No? I'm too broke to do what I want to do. But am I sad? No. And all of this conversation is pointless because if I get the job, we'll see how much it change. And if I don't get the job, they're talking about it. Why are we talking about it? However, this is what I was talking about last week. What is pointless versus what's not pointless. It's actually quite a cool conversation. See, I was talking about something, and with this, there's gonna be a little bit of a race thing. And there's nothing bad with that. I don't mean it in a bad way. I was talking about how in French and in Quebec, and I talked about this before, we have this aversion for speaking English. And I'm speaking English right now, right? I was talking about colonization, financial colonization. Like I said, the French Canadian, they were what should we call it? They were farmers. They didn't have education, right? I'm sorry to say, but that's the truth. My father would have had a farm. My father is Quebecois. My mom, she's Egyptian. My father would have a farm if it wasn't for the fact that his father was an asshole. So here's what the craziness, okay? So meaningless. My grandfather being an asshole is pointless. Is meaningless because I never met him. My dad says he's an asshole. My uncles and aunts he's an asshole. But I never got his version. I never knew why he was an asshole. He was drinking. He has alcoholism. What drove him there? Nobody knows. Nobody cared enough because it was an asshole, right? My grandfather being an asshole, meaningless. However, it drove my father out of the house into Lachine. Guess where they met me and my mom? Him and my mom in Lachine. So if my grandfather was an asshole, he was an asshole. I wouldn't exist. I would not exist. Right? So I was talking about how French Canadian were farmers. Now the problem with being a farmer is you'll never need anything. So if you're hungry, you have fruit, vegetable, meat. and you don't need a lot of cash to survive. However, this being comfortable is the enemy of adversity, and because you don't have adversity, right? You don't really evolve. So you get comfortable, and you're in. Your survival instinct goes down. Like if you look at people 100 years ago, they could all cook, they could all build houses, they could all hunt. Who can now? A very small percentage of the people, right? Is that a bad thing? No, because do we need to do it? No. If we need to do it, we're all fucked, Um, then I was talking about that, and I was talking about how the English people came. So this is a crazy thing. This is absolutely insane. Uh, we were conquered by England centuries ago. So technically speaking, Canada is this is the craziest thing. So Canada was at the beginning was French because the French found it and they called it La Nouvelle France. La Nouvelle France. La Nouvelle France is it started in Quebec. It started in Quebec. So what happened is this is complex. So the French people discover Canada, but they discovered a part of Quebec right first. Now we call it Nouvelle France, which is New France. So people were speaking French. Then England and France, which were the two most powerful countries in the world, went to war for Canada, right? So England won, which means we got colonized by English people. However, since the mentality of the French people was there for so long, if you look at it, this is something that French people won't tell you. If you look at Quebec in the beginning, it was all fucking murders and rapists. So they knew. So when the French came, there was the First Nation. First Nation were Autochthone, which I don't know what it's in English, but the Mohawk, the Nunavut, they were First Nation, right? Indian people. I'm Amerindian. I don't know what's in English. And they were strong as fuck. So what happened is like, we don't care if you die. We're gonna put you here so you build. Okay, so this is the crazy part. This is no books in history will tell you this, right? This is a knowledge that's gonna die with my generation, possibly. By the way, I want you guys to watch the cloud. It was beautiful. They are beautiful. So the original plan was to send in criminals that we don't care if they die or not, and then they would build city, right? And the city would be able to defend. So then you send in like in French we call it char à canon, cannon fodder in English, and then they would build the cities and the house, and then people that had a military status, they would come and they would say, okay, well, we defend the city. If they come in, we have a it was kind of cheating though. So the First Nation, they believe in nature. So they had hatchet, they have bow. The fucking French, they had guns, they had tanks. We're gonna do against the tanks, right, with your arrows. So they won. And then this is the craziest part. England was so fucking brilliant. They waited until the French had power. They waited until the French was in control. They waited just after the French won control, and they attacked because the French was weakened because they just had a war. So the England won, right? But the mentality, the core of the force was still in Quebec, which is why Quebec French speak French. So then the English, they said, hey, people in Quebec, they don't know shit. So then what they did was they introduced capitalism. So back in the days of my grandparents, what they would do, which is not, it was 100 years ago, not even. My grandma was born in 42. She had my father, she was 16. 42. And so what happened is, the English people came and they said, hey, listen. So the French they were trading. So for example, this guy has 4 cows. He has 4 cows. And this other guy, he has 12 chicken. So the guy with the cow was gonna say, hey, let's trade. Say, okay, what you want? I'll trade you a dozen eggs for a liter of milk. So they said, okay, well, I need more than 1 liter of milk. Give me a gallon of milk and we'll give you 30 eggs. Okay, deal. deal, which is the guy that's the eggs that's winning. So then you don't need the monetary values. So then the English people came with money and said, "Hey, you want a new tractor? You want you want some new cows? Forget about trading. With money, you're guaranteed to win." And then they had a mentality. So with the French people, they were poor. They were workers. The French people were the worker class, and the English people was the hiring class. So there was a leverage of monetary gain. So the English people would come and said, "Hey, it was crazy. It was crazy it was insane. We French had the Nordics for hockey. Hockey has always been national sport. We had the Nordics. You know what the craziest thing is? We went from work to this, which I don't know why. I don't know why. With the French people, they were so busy with the farm this summer. They were so busy, they didn't have free time. In the winter, they couldn't do shit because the they had to be protected from the cold. They couldn't plant anything. So in the winter, they would play hockey because they had free times. And this is why hockey is so popular. This is why it's not soccer. This is why it's not football. Because when you play football, it's the summer. When you play soccer, it was the summer and we were working. So then the English came and they wanted to play hockey. So they had the Canadian team, which is the Montreal Habs. Go Habs, go. The Montreal Canadian, that is still the team. And the French, they had the Nordic. The Nordic, they were a bunch of French people. And this is why it's so important. But because there's a history behind it. So then the Nords lost, and it was crazy. The Nords, people would go, and it was crazy. There was a fucking fence. I have to watch Maurice Richard today. I'm going to be watching Maurice Richard today. Crazy. I'm going to be watching Maurice Richard. So, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't do anything because they had the cash, right? They had the business, they had everything. So then what happened was, it was a bad situation for everybody. I don't know. What was I saying? Because she's complaining about me talking, for sure. She was complaining. Guys, it is 5 o'clock, okay? If I want to talk, I can talk. It's surprised motherfucker because at 7:30 I'm back. 7:30 I'm fucking back. What are you gonna do about it? I forgot to do something. Shit. Can you believe I fell asleep on the Bible? I fell asleep on the Bible. Okay. Forget to upload. Forgot to upload. It will go with highlights. We're at 80 hours out of 100. That's not good. Especially with me working. Then the English came and they said, you know what? Let's. They had Dominion, and they did one of the only in the world financial colonization. Right? So they said, you want to speak French? Fine, you'll be poor. If you speak English, we'll give you jobs. And in the chat I had Anna. Anna is First Nation. So because Anna is First Nation, she was like, this is interesting. Because she was also colonized. Well, not her, but her ancestors were colonized. Uh, or ancestor. I don't know when you can call it ancestor, or great grandparents. So it's like, oh, this is interesting. But this is interesting because we both got colonized. For someone that doesn't know what that means, just nobody cares. Like an American, you won't understand, you know. So this is all. It's all pointless and meaningless if you don't understand. But if you do understand, there's meaning to it because this is part of who you are. This is relatable. And, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we end this video. I'm gonna do possibly another half an hour, and I'm gonna have to go because she's gonna go crazy, and I have to be caught in today at 10:30 because at 9:30 there's a battle. I'll do at least 2 hours, you know. Anyway, I love you guys. Take it easy. Peace.